My name is Ruth Brown Ross. I currently live in Tarpon Springs, Florida, with my daughter Janet and her family. But I lived 71 years in Clarksville. That was Pennsylvania, of course. In case you were wondering why I have a passion to complete high school, I will try my very darndest you'll understand just why I want to do that. I've lived a very happy life with my husband, 2 sons and a daughter in Clarksville, Pennsylvania. However, there was a feeling deep inside me that I wasn't quite measuring up. I wasn't measuring up to others, I mean. You know why? Because I didn't have a high school diploma. I was always a little bit uneasy when somebody would ask me, well, where did you go to high school? We went so-and-so, you know. And then I was feeling terribly bad when I had a job application, and there was a little block there I had to fill out about my education. I was just a little bit terrified then because I wanted to tell the truth, and I was afraid not to. So that was another reason that I wanted to get a high school education. Meaning, of course, my diploma. Recently, while I was in rehab, I heard somebody say, just happened to hear them say something about a high school dropout. That gave me a feeling of emptiness that you will never, never understand unless you go through that yourself. I mentioned that to my granddaughter when she visited here from Pennsylvania. And you can only imagine my surprise when she picked up on it and went to the high school and talked to the principal and said, just what would my grandmother have to do to get a high school diploma? And then after checking my grades and things that I'd done, you know, there, and with the teachers, something that they could, no doubt. Well, they said what I would have to do was an essay. This essay would be about the Great Depression. Most people would know what the Great Depression is and how it actually affected me. I'd like to start with my childhood. I was born in 1921, 8 years before the stock market crash. That stock market crash was terrifying because it just was, and I'll go on and tell you about it. And my mom, Dad, and older sister Margaret, we lived at a rented house in Fayette City, Pennsylvania. Now, my father worked as a non-union coal miner, as his father had done in Wales. No union mines were in the area. In fact, all the brown men worked in the coal mines and they and their families all lived in Fayette City. There was Uncle Bob and his wife Margaret, Uncle Price and his wife Violet, And we had also had lots of cousins and I guess I recall a lot of friends. One day I began hearing conversations between my parents, and they were saying, I don't know where the next meal was coming from. I didn't know it then, but my dad had lost his job in the mine due to this depression. Lots of men had. Some neighbors who lived in coal company houses were having all their belongings thrown out on the lawn because they had to get out of their company houses. That was a scene that I would love to be able to erase out of my mind, because it was just terrible to see all that furniture out there on the lawn. It was terrifying. And then there was a man that was glancing around. There was a man on the lawn who was apparently dead. And as a little girl, I was like looking around, and I noticed that they had a mirror up to his mouth to see if he was still breathing and if there was a mist there. And I don't think there was any mist there on the mirror. And I think he did to a little girl and her sister Margaret, who was probably around there somewhere too. We were very, very scared because we were just little girls. I remember seeing people, a lot of them were crying. All right, I'll talk more about the depression and the closing of the mine and my father's unemployment. It changed everything in our life forever. Before he lost his job, my father took me to singing lessons with a woman who said, I was the little girl with the big voice. I loved those singing lessons. After he lost his job, the singing lessons had to stop. Although I continued to sing at community, church, and family events my whole life, I wonder where that teacher and those lessons would have taken me. Not finding work in Fayette City, my father was forced to look for work where he could find it. He knew a mine superintendent in Greene County named Tom Lamb. Tom was willing to give Dad a job, but Dad had to leave his family in Fayette City and board in Clarksville in order to take it. I remember my mom picking the last peach of our peach tree in Fayette City. That was our dinner. Mom comforted us by saying we should be thankful that Dad was working again and our troubles would soon be over. When I was 11, in 1932, we packed up and moved what seemed like a long distance to Clarksville, Pennsylvania, to join my father. Times were tough for everyone by that time. All the banks were closed. Our family felt so lucky to have our father working and bringing in some money, even though it wasn't much. In Clarksville, my little sister, Mary Elizabeth, was born. Not only did I have a new sister, I had a new school to deal with and new friends to find. I was more advanced in my studies than the students in my new school, and it was fun at first. Then I took a test and was moved up or skipped a grade. I didn't have much of a problem keeping up with the new subjects. However, I was thrown into a social group well beyond my years. Within a few years, my family changed houses, and I changed from Jefferson to East Bethlehem School District. Now, everything didn't revolve around school, of course. We didn't have much money, so entertainment had to be mostly at home. My parents often had people in to play cards. We also enjoyed square dancing. Now, usually on a Saturday night, neighbors would take turns having the dance in their home. They took up the carpet in the living room, and away they would go as a figure caller, who was sometimes my Uncle Bob, would call out something like this: away to the left and then to the right. Swing your sweetie all around, then circle around and swing the one to the left and then to the right. Now, everything was happening so fast between my 10th and 15th birthdays. My family joined the Clarksville Christian Church, where my father and I joined the choir. There I first met the man who would be my husband, Vance Ross. We fell in love, and I married in 1936 at age 16 instead of finishing high school. I was a young married woman and soon a young mother, still battling the economy in the middle of the Great Depression. Franklin Roosevelt was then president and began his New Deal programs. Vance, my husband, took a job with the Works Project Administration doing road work in Clarksville. He took a civil service test. He got a good score and decided to take a job in Washington, D.C. to better his family. He left his family, boarded in Washington, D.C., and he dreamed of a better future for us. That job, unfortunately, soon collapsed, and he was back in Clarksville. He was lucky to find a job as a coal miner. He and our whole family fought and struggled for mine unionization for years. Many strikes caused us to live on credit from nearby merchants. Times didn't get better until World War II broke out in 1941. Looking back, I think growing up during the Depression made me a better person. I try to understand people, what trials they have endured, because I've been there myself. I am more forgiving and also more grateful for the many blessings I have.
Traveling through this world of war, but there's no sickness or danger in that bright, bright land to which I go. Well, I'm going back to meet my mother. Said she'd meet me when I I know dark clouds will gather around me, and I know my way be rough and steep, but beautiful fields lie just before me, where God's redeemed their vigils keep.